one of America's premier Jewish scholars and one of the most sought after speakers in the Jewish world today, the Dean of the Yeshiva.net, Rabbi Y.Y. Jacobson. How did I do?
Amazing.
Now, aside from being a world renowned speaker, there's another element here. Rabbi Jacobson was actually my rabbi in yeshiva when I was, back in the day. What was I, 18, 19?
Yes. And the funniest thing today, memories come up. They send you some companies' pictures. So I always look, and whose picture is there? You, as a student in yeshiva.
Wow.
I
It's
didn't
like it's like
expect
a
that.
sign.
Literally today,
Unbelievable.
a few hours ago.
The algorithm knows.
Yes.
And it's actually spooky.
It was
That's amazing.
strange. You were
How
studying
are
the
you a
Talmud. You were studying the Talmud with
Oh,
another
really?
friend,
Uh,
another classmate.
that's great. I'd love to see that picture. How are you with compliments, Rabbi?
I usually don't sue people for giving me compliments.
I'll tell you, compliments are strange. Like I don't like compliments, so that's why I ask people. I don't know why. Maybe you could shed some light one day why people don't like compliments. But I would really attribute um, a big influence on me choosing to become a rabbi, not by degree but by profession, to your influence back in the day in yeshiva. So thank you.
Oh, wow, thank you. That means a lot.
Yeah. Do you want to tell the Olam, the congregation, a little bit how I was as a student? I think you could be brutally honest. It'll make for great content.
Uh, as they say, you were certainly an interesting student, a little
I
off the
bet.
beaten track,
Uh-oh.
somewhat mischievous.
I
You
bet.
certainly had a rebellious side.
Oh my gosh.
You were not
Rabbi,
the
you didn't have to be
obedient.
that honest.
You were not the obedient, submissive, docile, subservient type. Whatever the administration says goes. You questioned. You scrutinized. You had a great sense of humor then too. But the truth is, when I saw you for the first time, we had a conversation, and I think you had a little bit of a habit to try to push the right buttons in all of the rabbis to see if they were authentic, if they knew their stuff, if they can handle you. So I right away recognized that you have a very creative and authentic spirit. And I think we bonded on that level, and the rest is history.
I think we did. I had big questions. I had like big, like
Yeah,
existential questions back in the day.
existential
I don't think
questions.
I don't think any of them were ever answered, but no one ever let me ask the questions. And asking the questions are
Yeah, listen, the
so
real big
important.
questions, I don't know that we have answers, but we just have to be able to ask the questions. We have to learn.
Exactly.
And I always say faith is not always having the answers, it's learning to live with big questions.
Wow. That's right. Doesn't mean not to have questions. That's what faith is. Very good.
Yeah, I think so. And turning
Um,
the questions into a springboard for growth and goodness rather than allowing the questions to become an invitation or excuse for despair and complacency.
Absolutely. And Judaism is built on questions. It's the
Oh,
whole
yeah.
format and
Yeah.
structure. And maybe perhaps some other faiths, not to single anything out, it might be like a question is a sign of like, doubt and weakness. But in Judaism, a question is a springboard. It's an opportunity for, and
Yeah.
oftentimes we answer our questions, but we have bigger questions because we have more
Always.
awareness.
Always. And but Judaism is an old joke, but it's very true. It's a cultural truth. We answer every question with a question. And anyone who's even a little bit familiar with the Talmud, which is like the basis of Jewish religion and law and stories and history and analysis, knows that every page is just saturated with question after question after question. And the founder of the Jewish faith is, of course, Abraham. And the rabbis teach in the Midrash that the faith of Abraham began with a question. Usually you would expect religion to begin with an answer. We have all these questions. Why do bad things happen to good people? And what happens after death? And why was I created? And why am I depressed? And what am I supposed to do with my life? And religion is supposed to answer these questions. But with Abraham, our sages teach it all began with a question. And the question was, It's such a beautiful world. Such a beautiful world. Why is it on fire? Why is there so much violence? That's his question. That's the beginning of his faith, which means that the Jewish faith begins with a question. And the question is, if it's such a beautiful world, then obviously the world has a creator. When you study its intricate design, why does this creator allow so much bloodshed, so many challenges? That's the question.
That's the question of questions.
Yeah.
What's the answer, Rabbi YY?
So the Midrash says that Abraham saw a palace on fire, literally a palace on fire, and he said, does anybody own this palace? Is there anybody responsible? And what happened was the owner of the palace opens the window, sticks his head outside of the window, and he says, hey, I am the master of this palace. And that's how the Jewish faith begins. It's a very strange story, but there's a profound metaphor here. The world is an amazing palace. Every aspect of the universe is so majestic and rich and brilliant and dazzling in its depth and its design. And yet it seems like it's burning. It's engulfed with flames. Yeah. So Abraham says, I could say there's no owner of this palace. This is just a random mutation. It's all a mistake. It was never supposed to happen. We're just lucky that we have a universe. There's no designer, there's no creator. But Abraham didn't feel that was a really intelligent answer. So the question is, if there's an owner and there's a master, why is this palace in flames? And the window opens up and God says, I am the owner. And what is he really saying? He's really saying, I'm inside the palace. So I need you to help me extinguish the flames. So you're asking, where is God? And God is asking, where is man?
Wow.
And that begins the journey of Jewish faith. It's the journey of responsibility to be the co-partner of the Creator in restoring the palace to its innate dignity and majesty.
That's beautiful. Well, it's been 4,000 years.
Doesn't answer the question, but the question becomes a catalyst for action, for decisive action, for taking a stand.
So 4,000 years later, we have the same question. Perhaps God has the same answer.
God still says, where is man? Where are thou? The first question God asks to the human being, Adam and Eve, after they eat from the tree in Genesis is, where art thou? Where are you? Ayeka, where are you? And everyone says, well, God doesn't know where I am. If you're God, figure out where I am. Of course, it's not a question of geography. It's a question of existence and emotion and theology. Where are you? You ask where I am, and I ask, where are you?
Profound, beautiful. To those that are watching, by the way, we are blessed with Rabbi YY Jacobson. This was not even the topic, and I think each one of these points we could dive into and get so much. I see the hearts going up. People are liking this. I'm liking this. And by the way, those that are watching, thank you for joining us. Talking about questions, Rabbi YY. The question of the evening is the chosen people ? What does it mean that the Jewish people are the chosen people? And does that mean that God loves the Jewish people more? Does there need to be a Jewish people? Why can't everyone a chosen people? Why can't everyone just be the same? Why is this necessary? And it's interesting. I put this out there and there's lots of comments. Some people, Jewish people, were actually very offended. Stop calling us the chosen people. they didn't like it. I got some my beautiful Christian followers are telling me, no, you are the chosen people. and telling me, yes, you are the chosen people. And of course, Tevya and Fiddler on the Roof says, God, I know we're the chosen people, but maybe choose someone else next time. Rabbi YY, what does it mean, the chosen people?
Yes. What a brilliant and important and wonderful question. And I think to say it very succinctly is the way I understand it, and I think it's also the actual truth. When you study the Bible well, I think this emerges again and then again and again. Because people think the chosen people means they were chosen to feel superior to everybody else. They were chosen to get away with murder. It's like you say, I'm choosing this child out of the class, and it becomes an issue of favoritism. And then the question is, why do that? Why would God want to do that? Especially the same Torah says that every human being was created in God's image. So it's Judaism that postulated that every human being, no matter of color, creed, race, geography, culture, religion, every human being is carved in the image of the Creator. The Creator has no
Okay.
image. So all these distinctions are so superficial. The truth is, it's the other way around. The Jewish people were chosen to teach every human being on our planet that he or she was chosen. That's what it means that Jewish people were chosen. So we were chosen to become ambassadors of God, ambassadors of the divine, to teach, to impart this vital lesson that every person was chosen, that every human being, no matter who you are and where you are, is an indispensable note in a cosmic symphony, that there's something at stake in your life, that you were not conceived in error, you were conceived in love, with purposefulness, with meaning, that every moment of your life counts, that every action, every thought, every word has infinite and absolute value. It's very easy to live a life and believe I'm just a mistake. I'm worthless, I'm valueless, I'm meaningless. I am an insignificant infinitesimal of dust on the surface of infinity. I just came about here completely by mistake, and my life doesn't have real significance and values. You just make the best out of it. Especially people who went through pain or abuse, or grew up in dysfunctional families or dysfunctional situations. We innately experience that sense of valuelessness and worthlessness. And this is where the creator of the world really gave a mission to the Jewish people and said, your job is to teach every person that he or she matters in the most absolute and non-negotiable way, and that the value of every individual as a chosen by God is absolute and infinite and eternal, and that the day that you were born is the day that God said you matter, and that the world is an incomplete place without you. So this is a choice that more than anything else, it confers the choice, it confers responsibility, and it tells us that we were chosen to be able to help everybody feel chosen. And that's counterintuitive, because it's very easy to live in life and say, I don't matter. My life amounts to nothing. It's just about survival. And Judaism teaches, no, it's not. It's, of course, we have to survive. But beyond survival, we are actually spiritual beings, and we are all interconnected. We are all responsible for each other, and we all come from a place of oneness.
I think that if people lived with the sense of I matter, I have value, I think we'd live in a different kind of world. What a beautiful
Yeah,
um,
exactly. And I
and
matter.
what I do matters, and what I do matters, right?
What I do matters and has real significance, and that we're all connected. Judaism, especially the Kabbalah, Jewish mysticism, teaches something very profound. And that is, we often talk about, me versus you. So I have my body, and my body ends right here, and then begins the space outside of me. But Judaism says, it's a useful construct to know the difference in the space. We have to respect each other. But on a deeper level, is it true that my existence ends right here? Really? Can I live without the oxygen that I am inhaling at every moment? Can I live without the sunlight, without the atmosphere, without the people, without the vegetation, without the animals, without the produce? Where does my existence really begin and really end? And the answer is, it does not. We are all part of oneness. Yes, I have my body, you have your body, and there are distinctions, and they're very useful constructs, obviously. I can't eat for you, you can't eat for me. It would be nice if other people could eat for me and sleep for me. But on a deeper existential level, where exactly do I end and where exactly do you begin? And the answer is that really we are all part of an infinite oneness. And that's the meaning of the motto of Judaism: God is one. It doesn't only mean there's one God up in heaven and not like 1,000 gods competing with each other, but it's something much deeper. It means that God is one, meaning God represents oneness. God really means that there's a oneness in the universe. We are all interconnected. We are all givers. We are all takers. We affect each other. And in a very, very deep place, that oneness is organic. It's not superimposed. It's our divisions that are superimposed. It's our divisions and our fragmentation and our disputes and our wars that we create because we become detached from the deeper truth of oneness.
Thank you, Rabbi YY. Those that are, I'm looking at the comments here, people are watching. I hope you guys take a moment to follow Rabbi YY Jacobson. These are just nuggets of wisdom that is being shared every single day on a regular basis, talking about life, talk about meaning. Imagine people could walk around and feel, yes, I matter and I'm connected and we're all connected. That is, that's a different world. Rabbi YY, question for you. How are we doing as Jews so far? Are we doing a good job being a light unto nations? How are we doing being the chosen people? And by the way, I'm to those that are watching, what do you guys think? How are we doing, the Jewish people, as how are we doing as the chosen, and how are we doing as a light unto other nations? You could be honest. Don't be disrespectful, Rabbi Wawa. I'm just going to talk to the people watching. Don't be disrespectful. We're having a respectful conversation. But really, what do you think? Anyway, Rabbi Wawa, back to you. Right.
Hands. What can we repair? Did we lose the plot? Did we forfeit the moment? Is our trajectory erroneous? You know what that did to the Jewish people? First of all, it turned us into a guilty people. For that, we go to therapy and we create
Yeah,
therapy.
lots of
And
guilt.
Freud became the father of psychoanalysis because as a Jew, he knew that we will need it. That's one casualty of it. But something else happened. Cultures that when they face crisis or difficult moments, they blame others. You know what happens? They never grow up.
Mm.
Cultures who look in the mirror and say, of course, others are guilty, of course, and they're responsible, and justice must be executed, etc. But let's find out where we can take responsibility. You know what happens to such cultures? They grow into powerhouses. Think about companies. If your company is going through a difficult time financially and you're busy blaming the whole world, okay, maybe you're right. Maybe you're right. But where's that going to keep you? Where's that going to put you? Chapter 11. But if the company looks in the mirror and says, you know what? How can we do it differently? Where did we miss an opportunity? Where did we go wrong? Did our egos get in the way? Did our fantasies get in the way? Did our insecurities get in the way? Did our fears get in the way? Let's reinvent ourselves. Wow. They'll be, they'll remain in the Forbes list. In other words, the Jewish people remained on top of their game because they were always introspective. And you see this in the Bible. You see this in the Bible and in the Talmud.
I was
Literally,
gonna say, where do we get that from?
oh,
That
it's
was
it's from
my
it's from
gonna be
day
my
one.
question.
It's from day one. Literally from day one.
Okay.
Every crisis the Jewish people face in the Bible, you would think they should just blame the Philistines, blame Amalek, blame the Canaanites, blame the Hittites, blame the Amorites, blame the Jebusites. They had enough enemies. They had enough enemies to go around, and they are blamed. They are blamed, but they always ask the deeper question, and that is, what do we learn from this? What are we going to do tomorrow that's different? How can we shape our destiny and not only respond as victims and as slaves? That's the difference between a slave and an emancipated person. A slave is defined by the master. An emancipated person says, I can become the author of my own biography. And you know what happened? They grew from every single crisis. The first time it begins, the first time it happens in the contrast between Adam and Jacob. Adam eats from the tree of knowledge. Of course, his wife told him to eat. Men still do what their wife said, especially when it comes to food. She says to eat, you eat. She says don't eat, you don't eat. At least that's our excuse for all the cheese danishes and everything else. My wife wasn't looking, or my wife was looking. But in any case, God says, did you eat from the tree that I told you not to eat? And Adam says, oh, it wasn't me, it was my wife. The first thing is he blames his wife, and everything goes downhill. When you start blaming your wife, everything goes downhill. What happens with Jacob? You know,
Adam wasn't Jewish, right? Was Adam Jewish?
that's what I'm telling you. But Jacob,
Yeah.
Jacob
Okay.
is also battling an adversary in the middle of the night. And the adversary wants to kill him. He wants to kill him. And Jacob is fighting for his life. And at the end of the night, his adversary, the strange man, the Torah doesn't say who it is. The mystics say he was battling himself. But the strange man maims him. He wounds him. He makes him limp. Morning comes, and this strange adversary wants to leave. Jacob tells him the fateful words that would define Jewish history. I will not let you leave until you bless me. What he's basically saying is, when I encounter adversity, I am not only going to escape it, I am not only going to fight it, I'm going to make sure to emerge from the experience and the encounter more blessed, more deep, more real, more authentic, more powerful, more empowered. I don't just want to run away from my enemies. I want to learn something from the encounter that will transform me for the future. Jews took the cue from Jacob. And instead of growing from the experience, confronting it and learning from it and saying, how am I going to be blessed through you, even though you're my enemy? By doing that, imagine what happened in Jewish history. And that's why you'll see after every crisis in Jewish history, they always manage to take it and utilize it as a springboard for rejuvenation in unprecedented ways. It's an incredible, incredible feat. So when you ask me how we're doing, I could give us we could compliment the Jewish people, and there's a lot to compliment, and we should. It's important to understand your
Right.
virtues, but our real power is to be able to say, "Wait, what's missing? What can we do better? Where are we going wrong?"
So how we doing? No, I mean, so I guess the question is, are we just meant to exist as a Jewish people and other people are supposed to watch us
No,
and be inspired? Like what you just spoke about is very inspiring. We can read the Torah, the Bible, or Jewish history, and anyone could read it and say, wow, they're pretty cool. Or are we supposed to actively be preaching? Should we be on the milk crate, standing in Times Square? You know?
well, I think yeah,
And are we doing it?
I
Because
think
we're not doing it.
so. I think that is really what
I'm
chosen.
sorry, YY. I'm just going to continue on this.
Go
Are
ahead.
we supposed to live in our beautiful communities in Meir Sha'arim and Borough Park without, and be very religious and pious and good and kind and charitable? Is that enough? Are we doing a good job? Is that what it means to be the chosen people? Or maybe we're supposed to do something more.
Right. So just to give it a little bit of historical context, it's important to understand that Jews have suffered so much through 2,000 years of exile and dispersion that many of them have developed a culture of isolationism. Meaning, let's keep to our own communities, let's nurture our families and our children, and let's just take care of our own. And we can understand that because they have been oppressed just 2 mortgages ago. If you were a Jew, you were hunted down with absolute hate and sent to the gas chambers. So as the Jews emerged from the darkest period of their history, many of them developed, and we can understand that the attitude, let's just retreat into our own cocoons and take care of our own. And I understand it. But I think that that's missing something. Because I think ultimately the mandate of the Jewish people at Sinai was, you got to change the world. Now, of course, you don't change the world by neglecting and abandoning your communities and families. That was the mistake of the Soviet Union and many revolutionary systems where we changed the world. We're universal people. We're not family people. That's a terrible mistake. The more you love your family, the more you can love strangers. The more you have a healthy,
Yeah.
intimate family life, the more you have a good marriage, the closer you are to your children and to your family, the closer you'll be to strangers, because we learn about relationships from our own homes, our own environments. So it's extremely important. That's why Judaism focuses so much on family, community, on marriage, on parenting children, on being there for our children, on internal institutions that help us create thriving and healthy communities physically, emotionally, psychologically, spiritually, and financially. But the buck does not stop there. We say every day 3 times in our prayer that our mission and our goal is l'takein olam, to repair the whole world, to revolutionize the face of the planet, to create an abode for God in every corner of the universe. On the new year of the Jewish people called Rosh Hashanah, there's an amazing prayer that we keep on repeating, and that is we ask God to help us reveal the harmony of the universe in every corner of the universe, to the point that V'yeda, every single creature, should become cognizant of his or her indispensable purpose in the cosmic scheme, in the divine symphony. So I think each and every one of us has influence. Every one of us, whether one person through the mouth or through the pen or through the business or through our connections or through every person in their own way has influence, large or small. And I think to be a Jew is to recognize that today we ought to become part of the moral conversation of humanity, and ambassadors of love, light, hope, healing, morality, values, and redemptive
I think I
consciousness.
lost you for a second, Rabbi. I can't hear. Can our
You hear me?
follower?
You don't.
Okay, I hear you now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I hear you now.
I
So,
think
yeah,
we
we
are
just caught off for a
ambassadors,
second.
of love, light, hope, values, healing, morality, and redemptive consciousness.
You're back. You know, Rabbi YY, as you're talking, people are, there's a whole conversation going on, and I'm catching part of it. But
Okay.
basically, someone's saying, don't be like the, I'm quoting, I'm not saying this, don't be like the annoying Christians. I guess the person who wrote this is writing, like, don't proselytize, don't try to convert people into your religion. I just want to qualify by saying many of my followers are Christian, and it's just wonderful to have people who believe in a higher power and to share similar values. So I don't share those sentiments that were written here. But I guess the question is, like, what exactly is this message that are we supposed to convert people to Judaism?
Great
Is
question.
that what's going on?
Great question. This is so
Yeah.
fundamental and important. Judaism actually discourages conversion to Judaism or proselytizing others. There are other religions that claim there's no salvation outside of these religions. If you don't convert, if you don't embrace the ethos and the theology of these religions, you're doomed. Judaism actually, I believe, is the only, maybe one of the only, the one that I know, that actually says otherwise. It maintains that if you were created as a Gentile, that's perfect. It's fine. God loves you. It's not a mistake, because every person has a unique purpose. No two Jews have the same purpose. No two people have the same purpose. God created you to be who you are. That may be a Jew, that may be a Gentile, and therefore there's no necessity to convert. Maimonides has a beautiful verdict, and I quote verbatim in an English translation from the Hebrew. And he says, all pious people from all the nations of the world have a portion in the world to come. Paradise, the world to come, is not reserved for members of the Jewish faith. I love Jews, but this is a mistake. It's reserved for every good person, for every decent human being. There are people who choose to convert. And of course, that's their choice. And in fact, Jewish law dictates that you try to discourage them. You're like, why? Why do you need to accept upon yourself 613 commandments? There's observance of Shabbat, and there's wrapping the tefillin, and there's celebrating all the Jewish holidays. The Jewish religion is a very, very intricate and involved religion. Why do you need the pressure? And the moment you become a Jew, you may be a target of anti-Semitism too, right here on Instagram. Do you really need that?
Oh yeah.
So we actually try to discourage people. When somebody is really serious, this is the path they choose. Judaism is open to conversion, and it says 36 times in the Torah, never discriminate against a convert. Because people naturally have phobias. They have phobias. You're not from my family, you're not from my race. Plenty of people say Judaism is racist. It's ridiculous because the idea of conversion means anybody from any race can become a Jew, literally like this. In fact, there are Jews right now from all types of races. We don't have one race. So the idea that
Yeah.
Judaism is based on race is absolutely ludicrous and has no basis in fact or theology. So the idea is that there is a process of conversion. It's a very intricate one, but there's absolutely no necessity for it because Judaism believes that every person has their unique mission and dignity, and it's non-negotiable, and nobody could or needs to copy anybody else. Somebody once said, we were all born originals. We should not die as copies.
Beautiful. We're all so busy. The world's so busy trying to copy. Just be ourselves. So what exactly is this, you know, um, life that the Torah wants or suggests for a non-Jew? Should they be Christian? Should they be Muslim? Should they be Buddhist? Like, what exactly is this life?
Right. So there's something that's very fascinating, and that is Maimonides writes this, that when the Jews at Sinai received a mandate from Moses in the name of God to impart to all people of the world, all nations, all
Just go back a
civilizations.
second. We lost you for a second. Go back. What
Okay.
was that?
I was quoting a statement by Maimonides.
Yeah.
Maimonides is considered the greatest Jewish codifier, legalist, rabbi, and philosopher. He was born in 1135 and he died in 1205. He was born in Spain and he died in Egypt. So Maimonides is one of the most important figures, I would say, in Jewish law and history. So, and we quote him a lot. So Maimonides writes that Moses imparted to the Jewish people at Sinai a mandate from God, and that is that they have a responsibility to influence every citizen of the world to accept and observe and live by what's called the Seven Noahide laws. That, according to Jewish tradition, these are 7 commandments that were given to Noah and his children after the flood and formed the nucleus of civilization. And those 7 Noahide laws belong to every single person because they are what create a safe, secure, and beautiful society in which we can all live in peace and security and love and harmony for ourselves and our loved ones. And I think if all of us would observe those 7 Noahide laws, the world would be a completely different place. No matter if you call yourself a Buddhist or a Christian or a Muslim, there's obviously different religions and different faiths and different philosophies, different cultures, etc. But these 7 Noahide laws are universal, and the Jews are responsible to teach them and serve as role models. Because the best way of teaching is
So,
not.
so, so if someone follows these 7 laws, they're good by God.
They're not just good. They're great. They're it's the greatest thing. And there's within these laws, though, every person has a unique mission. But these 7 Noahide laws are universal because they create a structure in which we can all grow and we can all thrive and we can all trust each other and we can all live in a beautiful world.
So let's jump right into them. What are these laws, Rabbi? I
Seven,
have them here printed
yeah,
out.
yeah, sure. The 7 Noahide laws. I'll read. I'll say them briefly, and then go in a little more in detail. So the number one is the acceptance or the belief that there is a creator, a divine creator, which really means the conviction that we are all connected, we're all responsible for each other, and that there is a moral code in the universe. There's good and there's evil, there's truth and there's false, and that none of us is a mistake. We have a loving creator who created us for a purpose. That's number one. The second law is a negative one. We should not worship alien gods, paganism, idolatry, which really means something very deep. And that is, we should never sell
Because
our.
why would you need two? Like, isn't the
Excellent.
first enough?
Right.
Like, you believe in God, so you're
Right.
good.
Excellent. And the answer is because the second one really says, we all worship different things. We worship people, we worship our job, we worship social media, we worship newspapers. we worship things, and it's important never to attribute ultimate significance onto anybody or anything, to always retain our integrity and not to surrender our souls and sell our souls to anybody or anything, because those are disappointing. I may become dependent. My God may be the God of addiction. My God may be the God of my phone may be my my technology may be my God. We all have our gods, things that we become addicted to, we rely on. This becomes our way of escaping life and our way of entertainment. So it's extremely important to use whatever we have. They're all blessings, but never to turn them into deities, never to turn them into gods.
It's amazing because a lot of people, they visualize like the concept of idol worship. They visualize a stone or human sacrifice or dancing around the fire,
Far from it.
but
None of us are tempted
it's
to bow
really
down to trees
so
or
relevant.
stones.
Yeah. We're like, if there's ever been a time in history that we have become reliant on other forces. Talk about social media. Listen, I'm social media. That's what I do, right? I'm Rabbi Raps of TikTok and Instagram, fine. But it's a great tool, but it's dangerous. It could destroy our relationships, our life, or waste our
Right.
time. Uh, this is so relevant.
So really not
Who's your
worshiping
God?
gods means to always remember the distinction between the means and the end, and to realize those things that help us become more productive and things that end up taking us away from our true core and our true values and our true priorities. And it's a very, very critical distinction we all make constantly. I can worship my work. I can worship my habits. I can worship my fears. I can worship my traumas. I can worship my insecurities. How many of us become enslaved to our traumas and our fears? They become my God. They
Wow.
dictate my behavior. They rule me. My traumas rule me. My anxiety, my depression, my hatred, my jealousy, my competitiveness, my anxiety, my mental illness. And these are normal things. I understand that they're God. They're powerful. They're powerful. My anxiety is powerful. My fear is powerful. Money is powerful. My phone is powerful. Porn is powerful. I get it. So the Seven
But to
Noahide
believe there's
laws.
something greater.
Hmm?
Yeah, to believe there's something greater than
There's
all
something
that.
greater inside of me. I am
Yeah.
not my trauma. I am not my fear. I am divine. I'm connected to infinity. I have trauma. I have fear, but I got to deal with it. I want to confront it. I don't want to become subservient to these deities to dictate my entire life, because then I really remain enslaved and petty. And that's what separates me from others. Whenever you're worshiping God, you become more attached. You become closer to people. Your relationships are healthier, because what does it mean to worship God? To worship oneness. If worshiping God turns me into a hateful person, to a violent person, to a jealous person, a vengeful person, an angry person, I'm not worshiping God. I'm worshiping trauma. I get it. That's the second commandment. Don't worship strange and alien gods. Worshiping my
What a
alcohol.
universal message.
Very. This is the key. That's
Yeah.
the second one. The third one,
By the way, I don't know. I'm feeling it. Just one second, Rabbi. I'm going to jump in here for a
with you.
second. I'm feeling it. If you're feeling it too, please put in an amen. Give me an amen in the comments if you're feeling it. Because, wow. And by the way, someone wrote, you're not including the audience. Listen, it's a little hard for me to read every comment. I will try to look at some comments. Someone just wrote, Judaism is not relevant in the 20th century. I'm sure Rabbi YY has something to say about that, but I'm listening. Everything we're talking about is so relevant. How can you write something like that? Anyway, let's just see who's with me. I'm
Well,
going to look
maybe
at
he
these
doesn't have any
amens.
trauma. Are there people who don't have trauma?
Maybe, right? Maybe he doesn't have trauma. Amen to that.
Maybe he was
I'm getting
born an
amens. I got
emancipated person, an emancipated person.
maybe he's the Mashiach. I don't know.
Life is not neutral. Either we become larger than human or we become less than human. That's what I've learned. So, that's why it's important to
Oh,
have the chosen people. We either become larger than human or less than human. I don't think we have, life is a cliff. Either I'm going up or I'm going down. It's very hard to stay in one place. Either we become agents of love or we become agents of the devil. There's no two
yeah.
ways. I can't just say, I'm a little cute cat. I'm not a little cute cat. Cats have not invented the gas chambers. Cats have not invented suicide bombers. Cats have not done that. And cats have not created
Yeah.
hospitals for children suffering from cancer. Cats are wonderful. We love cats. We love puppies. But they don't create gas chambers, and they don't create universities and hospitals and museums and teachers and fathers and mothers. They are instinctive, and they're wonderful, and they're amazing, and they're cute, and we love them. They're also God's creatures. So it's important to understand what a human being is. A lot at stake in human life. Either we educate our children to become great human beings, and if not, they don't just become cute cats, they become dangerous people. Look at all the shootings in public schools. There's a reason for it.
What is the I mean, yeah, what's going on? We never had shooting in public schools before.
What's going on is obviously, and I don't mean to minimize the element of being very careful who has access to live ammunition. That's obvious, but I want to tell you something very interesting, Rabbi Raps, and that is this: there are hundreds and hundreds of Jewish day schools all across America, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of all denominations. You have Orthodox, you have modern Orthodox, you have conservative, you have Reform, you have very religious, you have more secular, you have right, you have a lot of types in the Jewish. You know what the common denominator in all these schools is? None of them have metal detectors. None of them have metal detectors. You know why? Because every Jewish boy and girl, no matter if you're a right winger or a left winger, if you have a beard or you don't have a beard, you wear a kippah, you wear this type of kippah, you grow up in Westchester, you grow up in Muncie or Williamsburg, Lakewood, or Teaneck, New Jersey, or Greenwich Village. In the milk of our mothers, we have entrenched that commandment in the Ten Commandments and in the Seven Noahide laws. Thou shalt not murder. Thou shalt not take away someone's life. This is so embedded in Jewish life. It's a value that we bequeath to every child. We have children who have Asperger's. We have children who are autistic. We have children who have mental challenges. But none of them take guns and murder 26 children in Sandy Hook or any other school. Why? Because values. Every autistic child knows he may have or she may have a lot of challenges, but the life of another person is sacred. It's absolutely sacred. When America was teaching this to every child, our schools looked different. We stopped teaching this.
Well, maybe even beyond that, it could be that any school that teaches some level of faith or belief in a higher power, I bet it has a much better track record. Are you suggesting we should bring religion into schools in the United States of America? Because
Well, there's a separation
that
of
would be a hot topic.
there's a separation of state, what they call church and state, right? Which is part of the Constitution of the United States of America. But what we could introduce is wherever religion you are, whether you're Christian or you're non-Christian or you're a Jew, what we could introduce into every school is a moment of silence and a focus on values, a focus on character development, a focus on the idea that the pilgrims and the founding fathers all embraced, and that is we are responsible to each other, and that God holds us accountable for every single action. You may hide from the
Right.
police. You may get away with it. You may do your thing, but ultimately you're accountable. The universe holds you accountable because there's a creator. It changes everything for a child. And even if a child is struggling with depression and we have plenty of children suffering from depression and anxiety. We have suicides and we have the problems that everybody else has. We have sexual abuse and we have predators and we have dysfunctional families. But there is such a strong emphasis on certain values, not as optional, not as it's nice to be nice, but really telling the child this is inherently right and this is inherently wrong. This is good and this is evil. And we are responsible for each other. And I
Yes.
think every
And to
family
some
and every school needs to emphasize this, and children get it. But this conversation has been eliminated from most schools. Schools are not here just to
right.
teach information. Information may be fine, but it could be useless. We want, first and
There was
foremost, the role of education is what we have an expression in Yiddish, to be a mensch. I want every kid to be a mensch. He'll know more math.
That's
Fun. I want he should learn math and science and physics and algebra and cosmology. Wonderful. That's wonderful. But if you're not a mensch, what does it all amount to? It's worthless. And if you're a mensch,
yes. And
okay, you may know a little less math, but much more likely you'll have a much more successful life. You'll have a much better impact. You'll have a better marriage, a better relationship with your kids. And you know what? The world will be a safer place when we all behave like mensch. That's why no Jewish day school has a metal detector. They're not worried about one kid killing another kid. Unfortunately, they have security. They have to have security.
yeah,
But
that's from
that's
the outside.
from the outside. But they're not worried that a kid is going to kill his teacher or other kid. Now that's amazing. So you ask, in that area, we're very successful.
Yeah. There is a few public schools in the Brooklyn area that took on this idea. There's some Chabad rabbis that are trying to heed the Rebbe's advice that every school should have a moment of silence. And just to build on what Rabbi Weiwa was saying, it's not to tell, the teachers shouldn't tell the children what to think about. In that moment of silence, it's a time to think about my purpose in life, why I'm here. What is that? Ask your parents, right?
Yeah.
So
Because
that's the idea. Ask your parents.
church and state is a very important and fundamental element of the Constitution. It's what allowed all people of all faiths to worship freely in our blessed country. The challenge is that I think we have misinterpreted the Constitution. There's freedom from religion and there's freedom of religion. The founding fathers wanted freedom of religion, not freedom from religion. They did not want children to grow up without any foundational conviction that their lives have absolute value and that we are absolutely responsible to each other, and that morality is not a question of, your favorite ice cream flavor, vanilla or chocolate. It's an absolute given, and that we are all held responsible. That the founding fathers cherished. They saw it as the foundation of our country because it's the foundation of civilization. When we allow morality to just be random, and it's basically if you're in a good mood, it's very dangerous. It's very dangerous.
Yes.
I'm
So I think
sometimes in a bad mood. I'm sometimes in a bad mood. So I have to deal with
I've
it.
never seen it, Rabbi YY. I don't know what you're talking about. You put on a good show for us online.
Well, I stay offline for the day.
Smart.
And it's usually when I eat the wrong
See,
foods.
right there was a nugget of advice. Do you ever get into a bad mood? All you have to do is sometimes just stay offline. Don't pick up the phone. Don't talk. It's okay. Give yourself some space.
Don't read the news. Yeah. It's extremely important for people to have moments, especially in the morning, when you retreat into your own core. So you remember who you are. And then the rest of the day, you're projecting your core rather than responding to other people's expectations. So
no, I think we're losing Rabbi.
Take that time, carve out time in the morning where you learn who you are. You become aligned with yourself. What usually happens is I get out of bed, I wake up, the first thing we reach for our phone, we're reading emails, we're watching clips, we're responding to texts, and then suddenly an hour and a half later, somebody else defined your schedule. You're not living from a place of inner-centeredness. Stay.
Talking about
that was just a commercial.
The message or the mission for. Yeah, no, the message of of morality for Jews and non-Jews. I once heard, and I'm looking still for the source, but the Lubavitcher Rebbe said that the concept of moda'ani, when you wake up in the morning, and again, I got to find the source for this, is not just a Jewish prayer, but a universal prayer. Imagine every person, most people reach for their phone. And that means we just get entrenched in all what do I have to do?
Right.
What's happening in the news? And a lot of that's negative. Many of us has negative things going on in our lives, but the ability to, like you said, just say, thank you. I'm alive. Thank you. Maybe I have a reason for being alive.
Right.
What is that reason? Just a few minutes. We're actually running out of time because, we're getting towards the end. Rabbi, do you think we could finish with the next 5 of the 7 Noahide laws?
Sure. Let's do number 3.
Okay.
Number three is the law against murder. Right? We never ever murder another person. It sounds simple, but unfortunately, when we're not taught that this is what God wants, this is what God expects from us, and I could never decide, oh, you're an infidel. It's not based on the government. It's not based on the human being. It's not based on the society. It's an absolute law that taking somebody's life is inherently evil forever and ever. Changes the equation. The next one, that's number three. Number four is no stealing. Number five is respect for the institution of marriage. This is so critical. So it's obviously protecting us against adultery. We all have temptations. And sexuality is the most powerful force in the world. But respect for the family structure is crucial for healthy civilization. The last two is respect for animals, never to torture an animal, even though Judaism allows us to eat animals, part of nutrition. But what, let's say, they would sometimes cut off a limb from a living animal or eat a living animal, cook it. That's forbidden according to the Seven Noahide laws. And the seventh is that in every city, in every province, we create institutions that promote education and promote these laws and statutes and promote a better civilization. So we create infrastructures, courthouses, and bodies in the community to safeguard this type of environment. Those are the basic seven laws that God gave Noah and his children after the flood, and Moses instructed all the Jewish people that part of their responsibility is to become voices of this type of life, to inspire people towards this type of life. And I think today it's as
So
relevant as ever.
we the there was, are we doing that? And I don't know if we're doing that as a Jewish people. We and have we done that historically? Have we
So
spoken to people about morality?
historically, it was almost impossible because Jews can barely find the freedom to live as Jews. Imagine if in the Middle Ages, Jews would go to the non-Jews and say, by the way, we have a message for you. Really? It was almost impossible to sustain our own lives as Jews. So that's what we were completely overwhelmed with. And that's why the Jewish people, right, have often, religious Jews often went into isolation because it was really a defensive. It was really, we were just trying to defend ourselves. So even when we came to freedom, we went back into that place. Let's just build up our future. And then there's a whole other group of Jews who decided to assimilate and become part of the Gentile community, but they often forfeit their Jewish identity. So they're not giving a Jewish message; they're just becoming, lost in the larger, the larger melting pot. And of course, America.
Why are Jews so uncomfortable with the? So many Jews are uncomfortable on this topic, uncomfortable with the idea that they're chosen. Like I said before, a lot of my Christian followers came up and says, "Yes, you are the chosen."
Excellent question.
Any insight into this?
Yeah, it's a very, very deep question, and it's a deep answer. I'm going to say it very briefly.
Okay.
If
We'll
you,
have to have a round two to get into it. Okay.
The Japanese have claimed they're the chosen people. They said that's why the sun rises first in Japan, because we're the chosen people. Of course, they used to say the sun never sets on the British Empire. The British felt they were the chosen people. The Chinese felt that they were the chosen people. And you know what? Nobody cares. Nobody cares when a Japanese guy says, I'm the chosen people. Great. Your therapist says you believe you're chosen. Great. When the Jews said they're the chosen people, suddenly we have to create gas chambers. We have to destroy them. We have to hate them. We have to murder them. Why? You know why? Because when the Chinese say they're the chosen people, nobody believes them. You're the chosen people. I'm also the chosen people. When the Jews say they're the chosen people, everybody believes them. You know why everybody believes them? Because the Jews were chosen by God. And for the Jewish
Wow.
people, that is very, very difficult. It's difficult because we're the chosen people. And part of being chosen is that you realize your nothingness in the presence of infinity. Meaning, if a great king chooses me as his favorite man, like Ahasuerus chooses Haman, I become arrogant, I become haughty. But when an infinite God chooses you, what happens to you and me? What happens to our egos in the presence of infinity? And the answer is, it reverts into nothingness. So to be chosen by God really means to be ready to surrender your ego and just become a conduit for God. That's not easy. It's not easy to be chosen by God. That's where they'll tell me, "Oh, you're chosen. You're racist." You don't get it. Chosen by God means you're ready to acknowledge your absolute nothingness in the presence of infinity. Is that what you want? Come. Come along for the ride. You can convert and become nothing. If you're ready to bust your bubble, if you're ready to bust your ego, welcome to the chosen people. So, how do you know somebody is Jewish? He's the chosen people. How do you know it? He hates the word chosen. That's how you know he's the chosen people.
Wow. Just love to get a little sense from those that are watching. How's this resonating with you? I'd love to get a sense specifically from my non-Jewish followers here. Um, how's this resonating with you? What's your reaction to all this? If it's respectful, we'd love to hear. And I just want to, mention one more thing, and that is there is a whole worldwide community called the B'nai Noach, the children of Noach. In the Bible, in the Torah, Adam and Noach, they were righteous. They were not Jewish. Abraham, generations later, is the first Jew. So there's a movement of people that identify as the children of Noach. And it's also known as the Noahide movement, people who align themselves with the belief of the Torah and Judaism and realize that and believe that they are part of the mission of the Jewish people to bring the world to a healthier, happier, more wholesome, beautiful place. So if you're not Jewish, and many of you have been messaging me, you want to convert, you may want to explore the B'nai Noach or the Noahide movement. Get together with other people that are like-minded, that share these values, that share this excitement about Torah and Judaism, and learn more from them. I think you'd find this very meaningful. But I'm going to jump into the comments here, see what if there's any. Someone just wrote B'nai Noach here in Brazil. Rabbi YY, I'm not sure if you know, but I've encountered many B'nai Noach specifically in South America. I don't know why.
Yeah.
But
There's another interesting phenomenon. It's not our topic today, but in Jewish history, we
okay.
have lost 10 tribes of Israel. The Assyrian king, during the first temple, exiled 10 tribes, and 150 years later, they disappear from Jewish history. There are today around the globe close to 100 million people who maintain that they are descendants of those 10 tribes of Israel. It's just fascinating.
100 million.
Close to 100 million people who claim. I
Wow.
can't vouch
And
for the
some may be.
authenticity. Some may be because
Right.
there were
And
10
some,
tribes. The
yeah.
majority of the Jewish people was exiled by the Assyrian Empire around 150 years before the destruction of the first temple. And they disappeared. They disappeared from Jewish life. We still don't know what happened to them. We were left with two tribes, Judah and Benjamin, and a minority of some of the other tribes. And that's the nucleus of the Jewish people that survived till this very day. But the majority of the Jewish people, it was known as the Northern Kingdom in the biblical literature, they're gone. Just mentioning this is a fascinating topic
Yeah.
because close to 100 million people today maintain that they are descendants. So
Here we have someone watching right now who says, we believe we are one of the lost tribes here in
you
India.
have in India,
There are people that,
in Africa,
Africa,
in Asia, South
right,
America. It's fascinating. It's fascinating. Now,
right.
I can't vouch for the authenticity. I'm certainly not an expert. I don't think anybody knows for sure, but it's a fascinating phenomenon because the Talmud speaks about if in Messianic times these 10 tribes are going to come back to the Jewish people, and most opinions say yeah. So that means
Yeah.
that if the Jewish people were chosen to change the world, we're going to have a lot of extra manpower because now we're only 14
And the
million.
B'nai
We're only
Noach.
14 million. And
Right.
The B'nai Noach in their own way. And as I said, every single person, this is like one of the key ideas of Judaism, that every single person plays not just a role, but a indispensable and vital role in perfecting our world and in fulfilling God's mission for you. When you were born, You were born with a mission, and only you can do it. No other person before you or after you, more talented or less talented, can do it, because this is something that's unique to you, unique to me, unique to us. There's a light
Beautiful,
that
Rabbi.
everybody carries that is unique to their own particular individual presence. And that's why every person you meet has something to teach you. And if not, it's not because they have nothing to teach you. It's because you or I am in a
Everyone
place
has a
that is more
light.
petty and small, so I can't see it. Every person has something interesting. If not, if I don't see it, it's the issue. My glasses are dirty. I have to clean my glasses.
You have a light, my friends. Your children have a light. Do your children know that they have a light, that they're not just a mistake in the universe? Do your children know that they're here for a reason, to bring that light to the world, that the universe, since the beginning of time, is waiting for this light to be revealed? Rabbi YY, your words are beautiful. They're inspiring. I'm looking at the
Thank you, Rabbi
comments.
Raps. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you to everyone that's been with us. This is really a bigger conversation. I wish we had more time to really delve into it. Did you enjoy this? Please follow Rabbi YY Jacobson. And if you're not following me, Rabbi Raps, I'd love you to follow my account. We
Yes.
both post inspiring videos every single day. And if you liked this talk and you'd like to have more talks like this, please message either me or Rabbi YY. Let us know a topic you like. And if we get enough interest, we'd love to provide more inspiration for you. Thank you, Rabbi
Thank
YY.
you, Rabbi Raps. And
Any
thank you to
final
everybody.
thoughts?
Thank you to all of you joining us and for all your comments and feedback and questions and all the loving hearts I noticed throughout the last hour.